Welcome to the Power Monkey Podcast, where we chat with the best in the world about what they do. I'm your host, Dave Durante, with my co-host, Chad Vaughn. And on today's episode, we have Alex Silver-Fagan. I've known Alex for a number of years. She is a superstar of New York fitness community. Both of us were trainers at Solace back in the day. She has gone on to do amazing things within the community, having been a Nike Master Trainer. And now she's off on her own doing a lot of yoga as well as kettlebell training. She has a program called Flow into Strong, which incorporates a little bit of both. We talk a little bit about what that program is all about, her journey into the fitness community, what the past year has been like in New York City as a fitness trainer and for herself, what some of the challenges were that she's overcome. And we're really excited to announce that Alex is going to be one of our lead instructors for our new Camp Restore, which is going to be happening September 21st through the 25th. And she's going to be one of our lead instructors. And we're very, very excited to have Alex out with us. We hope you guys enjoy this episode. Well, Alex, we were just mentioning off the air that we haven't seen or talked to each other in so long. It's great to see you. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me and chat today.
Thanks for having me. I'm very excited. I'm super excited to be connected to Power Monkey again, as somebody who watched it from, I think, a very early stage when I was at Solace. And, it's just awesome to watch you guys keep growing, and now to be a part of something together is really cool.
I appreciate you saying that. And maybe we can give kind of listeners a little bit of background on how we actually know each other. You said Solace, back in the day from the New York days when we were both at that. You're still living in New York City, correct?
I am. Yeah, I live in Williamsburg now.
We were kind of there moving the equipment into Solace back in, I think, 2014, whatever it was. And you were one of the instructors there for a while. When did you start out being part of the Solace crew?
Yeah, 2015, actually. So okay. I actually graduated NYU 2014. I got right into my fitness career, like literally like within my senior year of NYU. I was teaching at a group fitness studio called City Row, and then good old Kenny Santucci brought me over to Solace, and I was teaching the body class, which is the conditioning class on the main floor. I've never coached CrossFit actually, but I was definitely I drank the Kool-Aid for a little bit. I loved it. It was super fun. And then I also had the opportunity to teach yoga in that yoga studio that they had in the back, and that was actually my first place ever teaching yoga. I had obviously been practicing for a really long time. And then I went to Thailand in 2016 for my training, and I came back with no intention of teaching. And then Kenny was like, go ahead.
Yeah, fell into your lap. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's where I started teaching yoga too.
Well, it's kind of like if Kenny trusts you, then you trust yourself. It's like Kenny has a tendency to do that with a lot of people.
Exactly. I'm very grateful that I met him at an early age.
Well, you mentioned graduating from NYU in 2015. What were you actually studying? Was it anything in the fitness world at all, or was that something that just kind of came naturally once you were done?
So I went to Gallatin, which is a small school within NYU, and I'm fortunate that I had that smaller little community because NYU is really massive. And as somebody who's coming in, and I really kind of started taking care of myself when I was 18, I moved into the city. And so at Gallatin, you're actually able to create your own curriculum, which was really attractive for someone like me I really didn't know what I wanted to do. In high school, I was studying theater. I was drama club president. I thought I was going to be an actress. So I went to school, but I wasn't sure if that was actually my path. And having to think of choosing a major or a focus that early on, when I really didn't know who I was and I didn't know what I wanted to do, didn't make sense. And so luckily NYU has a school for people like that, which is Gallatin, where you're basically given the freedom to study a variety of different things. And then, you have to pull it all together at the end. You do a thesis, which is actually a 2-hour conversation with the dean of Gallatin, your advisor and your professors. And it's pretty awesome. But I was able to tie everything together actually into consumerism and popular culture. And so I have a degree in business, and then also just an understanding, I studied theater, then I studied fashion, then I studied consumer behavior. And I spent a semester in Prague where consumerism took a big jump after communism left. So I was just fascinated with behavior, like people's behavior. And fitness. I was never an athlete. As I said, drama club president. And then I was working in nightlife. I'm just going really deep here. I was working in nightlife and I wasn't living a very healthy lifestyle. And I actually found bikini competition and bodybuilding on Instagram through the hashtag Fitspo. I guess I needed some Fitspo myself. And I found the world of bodybuilding. And so I was working at a club. I quit the club and I signed up for a bikini competition. And this was my senior year of college. I was in 2014. And I just fell into this community. And now here I am. Wow. I mean, there's a lot that happened from there, but it really started with, I wasn't happy in my current situation, which was nightlife, and a little uncertain of what I wanted to do, and changing my body and thus changing my lifestyle, and then finding the boutique fitness world in New York, which really just opened up my whole world.
Yeah, so you kind of went opposite extreme, right? From nightlife to up on the stage.
Yes. Yes.
Fitness related, being like, I need to get out of this club life in New York.
I am very much a 0 to 100 type of person. It's like, all right, I'm going to do this. And then if I'm going to get into fitness, I'm going to go all the way. And then I actually went from bikini competitions. I then started training in powerlifting, which I find a lot of bikini competitors do right after bodybuilding, because what I was noticing from the girls that I was around, it was, you spend this time crafting your body and really it's not that healthy. Like, you're not eating very much, you don't have a lot of energy. And so then once you get to a certain place where you manipulated your body, then you're like, I want to lift as heavy as possible. Like, let me see what I can do. And that was, again, another extreme. And I was able to just start to play around within these extremes to then realize, oh, I can eat well and move well, and it doesn't need to be super restrictive. And there's so many other things I can do within fitness that aren't extreme.
Right. And so you've been able to kind of hone in on exactly the things that make you your healthiest self, whether that be through your yoga or what seems to be a big apparatus that you use pretty consistently these days, kettlebells. Can you talk a little bit about how you kind of got interested in kettlebells and kind of how you use kettlebell in terms of how you train yourself, but also how you train your clients now?
Sure. I think the kettlebell is one of the greatest pieces of equipment out there.
You just made Jeff Martones and Zach Filer, all of our kettlebell instructors from camp. You made their whole year. So we don't get too many people praising the kettlebell on here. It's a great piece of equipment, but we're normally partial to gymnastics and weightlifting. So
for sure.
Give them some love.
And I like to try everything, and I'm not purely, I don't only work with the kettlebell. I did spend a good amount of time like perfecting that craft because I wanted to know what to do with it. So my entrance to kettlebell, we mentioned yoga briefly, which I think is important in this transition. Like I was practicing yoga all throughout college, but I didn't consider myself a yogi. I also didn't consider myself an athlete. It was very different for me. And then I went to Thailand for my yoga training. I came back. I still hadn't explored the kettlebell. I was still at Solace in a CrossFit gym. I was using it, but not properly. I was holding it like with my wrists broken, like a little purse. Like I didn't really know what I was doing. And then I became friends with a group of people who were a part of the Strong First community. And at the time, Strong First was a popular kettlebell route. It's not really that way anymore. And I'm actually headed to Puerto Rico soon for my RKC. But I was with these people using this equipment, and it just felt like a community. And it was cool to find the shared love of movement with just like this one piece of equipment. And it also felt good. Once I started learning how to use it, there was this flow. And at first, before I learned hardstyle kettlebell, when I went for my actual certification, the flows were really popular on Instagram. And as somebody who was a yogi and also a yoga teacher, connecting my breath with my movement in a way that wasn't very aggressive was super refreshing. I was able to flow into Strong, which is what my brand is now. And it's not necessarily only because I'm using a kettlebell, but it's because I'm present. And I think, the same thing is with weightlifting when you have to be focused on what you're doing or else you're kind of fucked. And so I don't know if I can curse, but I just
You're
did.
fine.
And I just found a true presence when I was using it, and probably because I was still learning. But it was exciting. It was exciting to learn how to use something. It was exciting to be a part of a community. It was the most intense certification I'd ever done. And, that's coming from a 200-hour yoga training, which is very emotionally and physically taxing. I'd never trained for something in my life. And so then feeling really accomplished in mastering that piece of equipment was awesome. And then coming back and starting to introduce it to my clients and having them realize that you don't have to be, a quote unquote athlete on a team or running in a race to feel like you're learning new skills each time you come to the gym. That was awesome. That was cool to have people learn how to do a clean properly or a snatch and be like, whoa, that's like, I did that, and I hadn't really found, I mean, you can find that with other modalities, but it was really clear with kettlebell. And so, yeah.
I found kettlebells to be, I found them much later in my fitness life after gymnastics, and I use them all the time now. And actually, we have a bunch here at the house recommended by our kettlebell team with Power Monkey, as I mentioned, Jeff, Zach, and AJ. But I'm curious, Chad, do you use any kettlebells in your training right now, or were they ever a part of your weightlifting training at all?
Well, I mean, we're old, Dave, so kettlebells weren't really around back in my
Oh my
the
God.
the big days of my training the Olympic lifts. But I mean, I wish they were, but even if they were, I probably wouldn't have because I didn't know anything about them. I
Right.
use them very, very regularly now. Actually, I only have one at the house, and it's a big 106 pounder. So,
Oh, wow.
depending on the day, that might be my whole workout for the day as I go out and I do, depending on if I just have a little bit of time, I'll do a quick 5-minute warm up, some squats to mobilize a little bit or whatever else. And then I'll do 30 to 50 swings with that 106 pounder. And that's a pretty good little, um,
Oh yeah.
intense workout, with 106, just with those Russian swings. So I definitely use it very regularly. And I'm glad that that's the only kettlebell that I could take home from the gym. And the only reason it's the one that I could take home is because nobody else
No,
was
just pick
using
that
it.
one up.
No one wanted
I mean, here's the thing. We do require at least one F-bomb per recording. So feel free to let those loose. But
Oh,
I
well,
wanted
I
to,
hit one already.
yeah, I wanted to say that my kettlebell, her name is bitch. I mean, that kettlebell is a bitch for
Throw
sure.
around that bitch.
I'll swing it 5 times. And I'm like, oh, do you really want to do, 30 or 50 or there's even days where I'll do 100 and it takes me a while. Right.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I love kettlebells and I love that they're incorporated in Power Monkey, of course, and that we've been able to learn more about them and that, there's actually snatches and cleans and jerks that are being done. And in fact, just listening to you talk, Alex, I think, you're an Olympic lifter, right? You're an Olympic lifter because Olympic lifting is basically yoga plus powerlifting plus kettlebells, right? So why don't you just drop all that other stuff and just be an Olympic?
I mean, I definitely explored some Olympic lifting when I was at Solace, but barbells. I have a barbell hanging in my apartment that I use.
Get some squat racks right there, right?
I do. I have squat racks right here. I've got 4 kettlebells. I've got a plate of a stack of plates. I don't think I would have been able to survive the pandemic without extra resistance. Not that life wasn't giving us resistance as is, but let me just add some more on. But I think, moving with a kettlebell, like you can move your body around it in a different way than you can with a barbell, which is very linear. And as someone who is very flowy, it's cool to be able to work with a kettlebell that way. But, there's this beautiful play of like fast and loose and tension and when to release. And you find that with Olympic lifting, obviously, and powerlifting using your breath. But I just loved how it was at the forefront of the kettlebell school and kettlebell thought. And that was very emotional and mental for me too, being able to know when to be tense, when to release, when to be in control, when to let gravity do its thing. And because it's a smaller piece of equipment, there's like a little bit of, easier barrier to entry rather than like snatching a barbell over your head. And so for me, it was a nice approach, and it really just, it's been a part of my personal growth journey, like story and journey, which my goal as a fitness professional is to allow everyone to have fitness be a part of their own personal story. It's not like you just work out, but it's right. We have I worked with Nike for 6 years. If you have a body, you're an athlete. If you are an athlete, you have the ability to use fitness to continue growing, not just physically. So that's really my goal. And I think the kettlebell is a great way to do that. And your bitch is a great way to do that for you. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
So
one of your tools.
Which is not a small piece of equipment. If you have a 106, it's not really that small, but I get what you're saying.
106 is normally like a door jam. It's like just, it doesn't move.
Nobody even wants to pick it up.
Those 200-pounders that they use at the games to do. Yeah, no, what is that thing doing over there? It's just sitting there, getting in the way of other kettlebells that are being used.
For sure.
Way to take it home, Chad, and make it your best friend.
Do you just clean and squat it? What else did you get up? Did you do a get up with it?
The 106? No,
yeah,
I refuse to do anything with that except for a Russian swing. There is no way. If I want to snatch and clean, then I'll either go buy me some lighter kettlebells or I'll just use the bar.
Okay, fair enough.
So essentially the Flow into Strong that you created is a combination of kind of two passions of yours, right? It's a combination of your yoga and the introduction to kettlebell. So it kind of puts these two together. That's interesting. It became that when I started using when I became kettlebell certified and when I started using them more. But I actually developed Flow into Strong before I'd even really touched a kettlebell. It was, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but I did actually mean to cut you off because I wanted to tell you what Flow into Strong is. Right when I came back from my yoga training, I realized how much I loved yoga and how much I loved strength training. And I wasn't really using kettlebell yet, but I was at Solace and I was lifting with a barbell and dumbbells and what have you. And I knew that I had two different sides of my personality. I had this like softer, deeply emotional side, which we all have. And then there was this intense side to me that wanted to push through and be stronger and, speak my mind. And I loved that I was able to explore those two personalities within movement. And so when I came back from my yoga training, I was like, I don't want to just teach yoga. I want to combine both of them because I'm finding something really beautiful about putting them together, which is that we are of this variety of emotions, variety of, experiences, and you can use your movement to express that. And so, the class it's a method for me. It's like coming back to your body so then you can find your potential. But then it was at first, really, it was just a class, which if you come to Power Monkey Fitness Camp, you will be doing that class with me, which is intervals of yoga and intervals of strength training. But the main point is to breathe throughout and embrace wherever you are in that moment. Well, it seems like Restore is probably a perfect place for this. So let's give people a little bit of a background about the camp coming up. And before we actually get into Restore and September and you being one of our lead instructors for that, I'm curious if you have any experience with summer camp yourself growing up. Did you ever go to camps or anything like that?
I did. Yeah, I did. And that's why this is really exciting. I went to sleepaway camp for 3 years in Pennsylvania. I grew up in New Jersey, so just like 30 minutes outside of the city.
The number of people that are just amazing from Jersey is just, Chad, I mean, did we do this on purpose? It's just.
Are you from Jersey?
I am from Jersey.
Well, you are? Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Where?
I'm from Union County.
No way, Essex County. What's that?
I mean, the number of people from Jersey. That have,
Jersey strong.
Chad, we got to get more Texas people on here.
I was going to say, I feel
like
you're
an Oklahoma guy.
It's similar to Oklahoma. I mean, I run across people all the time that are amazing from Oklahoma, and
Oklahoma,
got to get them on the podcast.
2004, 2 of the 3 Olympians in weightlifting were from Oklahoma. So, I mean, that's a pretty high pretty high
That is.
percentage, you know.
That is.
That's it. Just Jersey and
Shannon Miller
Oklahoma.
as well. I mean, come on.
Oh yeah. Well, OU. You know,
Jake
OU.
Dalton. Yeah.
I know. Well, Jake's not
True.
from Oklahoma.
Well, but
You get
Oklahoma
all the
made him.
Oklahoma
Oklahoma
crew.
made him what he was. Come on, let's be honest.
Okay, so
Well,
Jersey clearly creates greatness.
Jersey, it does. And I had the pleasure of going to sleepaway camp not far from Jersey. And then I was actually a camp counselor. My first job was I was a bus counselor, and then I was a lifeguard. So I never had my own group of kids as like the counselor with their own group. I hung out at the pool. I got to wear my very Baywatch vibe uniform, and I got to see all the kids all the time, which was my favorite. And also, now that I realize it, I was teaching kids how to swim, and I didn't ever imagine being a trainer or a coach. And that's actually, I guess, what I was. So I love me some summer camp, and now I get to go to Power Monkey.
Mm-hmm.
How cool is that?
Yeah, I used to go to gymnastics summer camp in Pennsylvania too, my whole childhood, and I'd continue kind of going through my career, and that actually led me to Flip Fest, the location where we host our Power Monkey camp and where we're going to be hosting Restore. And it's always something I always look forward to in the summers, right? It's just like chance to get away, trying to connect with nature, all those things, doing what you love, whether it's gymnastics or just hanging out with your friends. And we get to create now an adult version of that, like the thing that we loved doing as a kid. And it's one of the things that always resonates with us with Power Monkey Camp is we get to be kids again and just hang out on this 150-acre amazing campus and just chill out. Yeah. And now we get to drink beers and eat s'mores and hang out and talk as adults. We get to do all those same things that we got to do as a kid. So when was the last time that you were at a camp? And like, have you done anything like this now that you've been an adult, or will this be your first time back in that setting?
My Strong First, my kettlebell certification that weekend felt very much like a camp, because we were all together and, together all day long, and then exhausted at the end of the day because we were moving. But for me, the way that I think about camp, and maybe it's because I was a lifeguard, but, as a kid, the main like joy of being a child is that you're just open to learning. Like, you're a student of everything, and we lose that as adults. And so you just said we get to be a kid again, and we're all in fitness here, and obviously learning is primary to our existence, but for a lot of people it isn't. And so going back to being a kid is that ability and that that opportunity to just soak up everything and learn. And so that's why my kettlebell cert felt that way. Anytime I do a yoga training, I've done some advanced trainings recently, and before COVID, I was actually in the French Alps, and we were just like on this beautiful, we're in the Alps, and everyone had their own little, chateaus. And then we had the chalet with the yoga, and we were outside and we were together. And so for me, it's being outside, being with people and learning. And that's what we get to do.
Absolutely. Chad, has that kind of like sum up your camp experience too? I'm not quite sure the reasons why you continue to come back, but I imagine it's because we bring beers there for you.
It's all about beer. It's certainly, I'm there in spite of you, right? There's something special about camp if I continue to come around you guys. But no,
exactly.
It's absolutely, I love the way that you described that, Alex. It's about going back to when you were a kid. For those that did go to camp, I never went to a summer camp, so Power Monkey Camp was my first exposure to that. And I probably will never go to another one if I ever have a chance, because I'll probably be let down. It's such a cool thing. But you talked about going back to being a kid in the sense that you want to learn. And that's exactly the perception I've gotten from every single person that has been to Power Monkey Camp, that signs up for Power Monkey Camp, that comes as a camper, but also all the coaches too. I've never come across one of our coaches that wasn't that same way, that wasn't like a kid, in the sense that they not only want to learn, but they yearn to learn, and all of the campers have that as well. And I expect that Restore is going to be no different.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm sure it will be. Look at this amazing group of people. And I think everyone's hungry to learn after the past year. I think we're all like ready for that. I am.
Yeah, ready to learn and to be around other people again. I think, and I'm curious, we've spoken to some other people that were based in New York City, especially during early days of pandemic where you're kind of like locked in your apartment, scared to go outside. But I'm curious what the year has been like for you, pandemic wise, being in the city, and kind of where things stand now versus maybe where they were around this time last year.
Well, I'm actually coming up on an anniversary of a very courageous moment in my life. Last year I've been in New York other than 1 month where I was away. I've been in New York the whole time during pandemic, and it was scary. I'm in a way really happy that I was here though, because I got to experience something that's really once in a lifetime, and to watch the city just stop for a while. And everyone had to take a life pause and then figure out do we like what we're doing? Do we like the relationships that we're in? Are we happy with how we spend our time, our days? And so that was pretty interesting to be a part of. For me, mental health is always very important. And it's something that I talk about, obviously, with fitness. I've talked about it throughout this podcast, but I actually went to a mental health treatment center in December and had the opportunity to really sit and answer those questions and then come back and, start to make a change. So I don't know if everybody has been able to go from that life pause or that weird time that we had and actually sit, like really dissect what's going on in their life and then make a change. We're in this weird state right now, and I don't know if either of you feel this or if anyone listening feels this, but there's a lot of people that just kind of went right back. Like we just snapped right back. And, we were in a really tender moment where we had an opportunity to shift a few things. And I don't know if a lot of people took that chance, but hopefully by hearing this, or if they come to camp, there is an opportunity for them to slow down and make the changes that they need to create the life that they want. And it's not easy, but it does require some time away and a little bit of a reflection.
Has it changed your perspective at all on the path that you're on right now? You're saying you're making some changes in terms of direction, but with regards to your fitness lifestyle and the career path that you've chosen, has that changed at all, or are you still or has it reinforced the direction that you kind of chose?
Yeah, well, I don't really think I ever chose this, which is what I've realized. I went from bodybuilding because my bikini competition phase was really to get me out of working in nightlife, but I never thought that I would be a teacher or a coach. I am supposed to be a yoga teacher. Like I actually do know that now. But recognizing that I didn't choose this path was important. I do think that I put a lot of emphasis on gathering a lot of labels. I was a Nike master trainer at the age of 23. I had a big Instagram following before Instagram became this necessity in our businesses that it is now. And I never really took a chance to settle down and figure out if I was growing into the woman who I wanted to be. I started Instagram at 18. I'm 19 now, and my career took off immediately from college. And I'm now starting to look at Alex Silver-Fagan without the @ sign from Instagram in front of her name, and really starting to learn who she is and becoming a better coach and teacher from that. In terms of my career, I don't think I'll ever stop teaching, but I am writing a memoir at the moment. That's my main focus and energy around, everything else I do. But I don't know. I'm not too concerned with the next chapter of my career, because I know that when it took off, I wasn't concerned with it at all. And I have this analogy that I always come back to, which is if you're focused on what's on your plate and you stop taking a peek into the kitchen, like the chef is preparing the next meal for you. You got to focus what's on your plate and it'll come out when it's ready. If you keep looking in there, the chef's going to get really annoyed with you and he's probably going to tell you to leave. So I'm just trying to focus on what's on my plate, which for me is maintaining my mental health, my well-being, writing this book, connecting with the people in my life, and taking care of my clients.
That's powerful. And I know that Chad is going to have some questions about your memoir. Chad's in the process of writing a book, and he has been for a while. But I want to ask one additional thing as a follow up to that, just with regards to what you mentioned about social media and how that was such a big component tied to who you were as a fitness entity, and early on having a big following within social media and Instagram, and that being connected to kind of your worth, right? Like my following is my worth, my my positive mentions or any negative mentions in there detracts from my worth. And it's something that we've been talking about a little bit lately, because I think some of this has come out with what happened at the Olympics not that long ago. Talked a little bit about Simone Biles on some previous podcasts, and some of the issues that Simone ran into, mental health related twisties, as they're called in gymnastics. These hiccups that kind of happen with regards to doing skills that you've done forever and then suddenly not being able to do them. And been talking to a lot of people about why this might have happened, and gymnastics, those kind of things just happen. But I really think social media plays a big role in those things, and it has become a bigger factor in people's success and failure, because we've become so reliant on social media for kind of everything that we do. And I'm curious from your perspective as to whether or not social media has played a factor in this, and whether or not you're removing that. You say you're not tying yourself to the at symbol at the front of your name anymore, and whether or not you're removing maybe some of the necessity to find kind of gratification through a post or through someone's response to a post, and if that's giving you a little bit more clarity as to being able to figure out that path.
I'm taking a moment with this because it's such a big conversation.
Sure.
I think the healthiest thing that I've realized recently is the distinction between reality and Instagram. And I don't think a lot of people realize that. We have this like Instagram life that people do obviously recognize that like it's on a phone and it's social media, but we interact with people in a way that doesn't give, the true respect to the fact that it's a totally separate world. It's a totally separate life. And I do think that we have Instagram personalities, and I'm not saying they're inauthentic or they are, or people are phony. Some people are, but that's just, some people are phony in real life. But I think that you can't show everything all the time on Instagram, and it very much they're these little snapshots, whether they're highlights or not. And as long as you recognize like this person on Instagram is real, but she's on, or she or he or they is on Instagram. So I'm going to nurture that personality, be as authentic as I can, and then also nurture the personality and the human that's off of the phone. And so for a really long time, I wasn't distinguishing between the two. And I was very much my Instagram personality all the time, sharing all the time. I would talk about something that was very personal for me, and then I'd get validation for it. And then I felt like I needed to continue to dig deeper when that's not very healthy. So just recognizing that there is a distinction is like number one. And then being really clear on why you're posting or why you're interacting with somebody. When I got back from treatment, the one thing that I used to say to myself all the time before I opened up and I still say it before I open up the app is, am I giving something or validating? Like right in this moment, whether it's a post or I'm responding to somebody or whatever it is, am I giving a piece of information? Am I giving energy? Am I giving love? Or am I trying to validate my worth, my existence, this relationship? And you can still validate as long as you know why you're doing it, right? Like sometimes I'll put something up and I know it's clickbait. I'm going to get some likes. My dopamine's going to shoot through the roof. I'm going to feel good for a little bit. All right. That might not have been the best thing for me to do, but I recognize it, and we all do it. We all know. It's just being aware. It's being present. It's being aware. And, now that I do a lot of my work on social media, I'm fortunate to have a career as an influencer because I I have influence, as we all do, but it's my part of my job. I'm just really clear about the partnerships that I have and why I'm posting and when I'm on my phone. So it's just being mindful, which is easier said than done.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point, just about the distinction between the validation versus what you maybe phrase as giving information.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think sometimes they get merged a little bit, right? And you give and you want validation for what you deem to be good content or a good post. But I think that's such an important piece, because if you're okay with saying, okay, I'm using this for validation, then you also have to be cognizant of the fact that maybe not all of it will be positive.
Right.
And that you have to be accepting of the fact that maybe some of it will. And I think the tendency is, for every 100 comments that might be positive, the one negative is the one that we have a tendency to focus on. And that's the one that ends up becoming, our focal point. And that's the hard part. It's like, we want everyone to love us and everyone to feel, strongly about what we're doing and being a positive. But I think it's a really good way to kind of make a distinction between those two.
Yeah, I think it's also important I like to think, as I'm on my phone and I'm scrolling or I'm posting, I like to think about how I interact with content. And sometimes it's just like, you look at something, it doesn't really, you like it, you just go to the next thing. And then we put so much focus on if other people are really engaged in our content or are looking at something or commenting, when we don't interact that way all the time. So I just like to remind myself, like, we're all kind of on this app, sometimes just half-assing it. And so don't put that much emphasis on it. Like, it's okay. It's okay.
I'm just going to say this, and Chad, you can take it from there. But for as much as I love social media and I love being able to connect with people that I can't connect with on a regular basis, I actually think we're better off without it.
Yeah,
I think we're better off. And it's I know we have to use it in a lot of ways, especially if we use it for our businesses. But I think we talk about wanting to, a bunch of us within Power Monkey keep talking about wanting to go and buy a compound somewhere in the middle of nowhere and just kind of be off the grid and just us, and be able to like just hang out and like have what we have with Power Monkey Camp a couple times a year, but just all the time. It's like, I would so much rather do something like that.
Sign me up.
Constantly be on our phones.
Yeah, it's really tough to say that we're better off without IG, because like you said, Dave, the business purposes behind it and the opportunity to inspire and teach and motivate other people. And I think those are great questions that you ask yourself, Alex. But it's, if somebody said, you can still do everything that you're doing and support your family and everything else without Instagram, I would take it. I would take that opportunity, no doubt. But on the other hand, what it's been for me and what I think it is for everyone is a learning and growing process. Instagram itself is, right. I mean, it's amazing how much power Instagram and Facebook have, but Instagram specifically. And it's about finding that balance, because for me, I literally, this Instagram is something that enrages me more than anything. And it enrages me on myself. I'm putting that on myself, because those negative comments that get to me and that I spend time writing back and forth with someone trying to validate the information that I'm trying to put out. And then I'm, an hour into that and I'm thinking, wait a minute, you could have spent that hour with your family, writing, programming, working on something else that is positive and in the direction towards the goals that you're trying to reach. And those moments for me, they enrage me so much, but they're powerful because they're those learning opportunities to say, okay, I have this ability to just shake that off. And if something needs to be confirmed or said, then say it quickly and move on. But don't go back and forth. But Instagram is insane for sure. We all have a long way to go to learn more about it and to find that balance within ourselves. I wanted to get back to some stuff that you said earlier, Alex, specifically about yoga. You said you realized that you're meant to be a yoga instructor. What is it about yoga specifically that has that strong of a hold on you to where there is no doubt in your mind that yoga is what you're supposed to be doing and it's going to be what you do?
Well, thanks for asking that question. That's awesome. Yoga is just simply learning how to be a better human every single day. Like that's actually, it's not the poses, which is, the fitness side of yoga. It's just being better for your family, your environment, and I am on a endless quest and journey to be a better human every single day. And I know that at my darkest times, I always come back to yoga. I started practicing my freshman year of college when, I was pretty much on my own, away from family. And we would have read the memoir, you'll understand why. But I found yoga, and it had nothing to do with fitness. It was just, I was in an environment with people where we were all the same. We were all on the same page. We were breathing together, and we felt connected without having to share who we were, name, what we did, this, that, like we were just united. And my goal is to have everybody have that feeling every day that we are all the same. We are connected. There's this like energy and vibration that transfers between all of us, and we don't need to worry about the labels to feel that connection. And you go into a yoga class, or sometimes there are some wonderful fitness communities. CrossFit is one of them, where you go in, everyone supports you, and you're a part of something. So when I went for my yoga training, I didn't anticipate being a yoga teacher, but it just felt like a disservice to myself and everybody around me to not share what I found so much peace and love and joy with. And I keep learning. I think the happiest times in my life are when I have a yoga studio, when I have an actual yoga practice. And I do think when I teach, there's a very different voice that comes out when I'm coaching a fitness class or I'm with a personal training client than when I'm teaching a yoga class. And this might sound weird, and I am trained. I've done my hours as a yoga teacher. I continue to learn. I'm doing more trainings coming up. But sometimes I teach a class and I'm just like, what the fuck just came out of my mouth? Like, I don't know where that came from. Like something else is, I think, speaking through me. And that might sound weird, but I believe in the work, and you just have to show up on your mat, and you have to show up every day wanting to learn. And so that's what yoga is. That's why I think,
Well, I'm glad you shared it in that way. And I think some people can take a comment like that as maybe cocky or arrogant, but if you really think about it, it's not. It's you speaking your truth and how you feel. I have moments like that all the time, especially when I'm reading back through something that I wrote like a year ago or 6 months ago, and I'm going back through it to try to put it together in a blog or to get it ready for the book. And I'm like, I'm not that smart. I don't know how those words came together like that. How did that? I don't remember writing that, so I do believe there's some power in that. I think that it's certainly possible that there's some sort of power speaking through us in a big part of our life. And it goes back to you saying you're meant to be a yoga instructor. So if you're meant to be a yoga instructor, then perhaps there are things that you're meant to say in certain situations when you're up in front of someone that needs to hear it. So it all really makes sense to me in that sense. And maybe we don't have to get too crazy with that, but what about, you defined what yoga meant to you, right? So what about individuals that come in and that doesn't mean that to them initially? They're there for another reason. I've heard of a lot of CrossFitters, for example, or even weightlifters who say, you know what, my mobility is bad, I'm going to go sign up for a yoga class. They're going there for mobility. They have no idea about the other parts of it. They don't even care about those other parts of it, at least initially. So in those situations, when people don't know what they're getting into, or they're there for a different reason, do you find that all of them or some of them transition into that definition that you just gave?
Yeah, well, I think it's a big misconception that yoga is just for mobility or stretching, and it's great. Whatever gets you on the mat, that's great. I would probably say that whoever came to you, like, go to a PT for some mobility, but come here if you want to go practice. But I would never. I think everybody should go to a yoga class or practice at some point. It depends on who the teacher is. You know, yoga is the like, you're bringing together breath and movement, but really the asana practice, like the physical practice, was simply to tire your body out so that you can meditate. Like, that's actually why you practice asana. And I, as somebody who moves not only just in a yoga practice, do find that I can deeply connect to myself just through movement. And putting someone on a yoga mat in a confined space, having them breathe, which no one really, honestly, most people don't know how to breathe properly, or if they're breathing at all. And having them breathe, connect to their body, connect to their breath, connect to their movement, and try to just let go of whatever's not on their mat is very powerful. And it takes a lot of practice, which is why it's a yoga practice. And so I think I lost your question, but you were telling me, can you repeat your question one more time? I'm just getting so lost in this, how I want to explain yoga to everybody.
No, you're fine. I was just wondering about because I know there's been a lot of individuals that have gone to yoga without understanding what it's really about. You know, they're there for mobility, when it's about more than that, if that at all, right?
Yeah, I think it's just coming to yourself and being really gentle with wherever you are in that moment. Like, that's all yoga is. Like, it doesn't, you know, I keep saying that's yoga. Yoga is a lot of different things, but it's honest. It's just truth. And it's finding just your presence. So you're going to come to the mat, and one day it's going to feel a certain way, and then the next day it's going to feel different, or you're going to be able to do a certain sequence or a certain pose. And it really has nothing to do with your body. It's really just recognizing that we are human and we adapt and we change, and we need to be gracious with ourselves in our body and in our mind. And so you come to a yoga class for mobility, and what I hope you find is the ability to just be cool with wherever you are in that moment and not judge it in any way.
Nice. That's a good kind of warning, so to speak, for anyone that's thinking about using yoga for any other reason than for what it is.
You're going to find yourself. You're going to come back home. That's the goal. You're going to come home.
Absolutely. So you mentioned something about yoga is great depending on the instructor. So I like that. Again, another warning there, but what would you say are one or two of the things for someone to potentially look out for in an instructor that is going against the best practices?
I think finding a teacher that allows everyone to have their own reflection of a pose. So, you know, all of our bodies are different, so it's going to look different for everybody. And my background is in Ashtanga practice, which is a very aligned practice of yoga where we all need to kind of be in the same space. And a lot of Ashtangis have gotten hurt over the years because they're trying to fit into a mold. And my preferred teachers are the ones that allow bodies to express things the way that their body should be expressing. So if teacher ever tells you you're doing something wrong, that's kind of a red flag to me. I don't think there's a wrong to yoga. I don't think that there's, just like if someone said you're doing something wrong and you're in a fitness class, like, well, it's not wrong. Like, well, let me just figure out a way that this is better for me and it's safer and stronger. So that would be a red flag. And, you know, it should just feel like a safe space. I think I don't want to say that one teacher is bad and another is good. There's going to be a teacher for you, just as there's a coach for you, and you're going to resonate with someone differently. So Chad and Dave, you might find teachers that you connect with that I will never resonate with. It's just the way that it is. And so listen to your own instinct and try again. You can always give somebody a second shot, but I'm aware that there are going to be people that don't like my class, and that's totally fine. That's normal. I'm a human. I'm not a robot. So, yeah, I guess red flags. Again, it's, you know, if someone tells you to do something wrong, maybe just think about that a little bit and question it. And also just trust your energy. If someone resonates with you and I don't like them, it doesn't mean they're a bad teacher. It just means you like them. It's great. Like, what's the goal? I think finding an intention. What's your intention with the class? If someone's really just going in and they want to stretch and they're getting that, that's awesome. I'd hope that they get something more out of it, but if not, that's fine. If your intention is to find yoga, then there should be an intention to listen to your own inner voice.
So with regards to the yoga that you teach, I'm assuming that you were teaching some virtual classes throughout the pandemic, and now leading up to, I just want to bring it back to Restore, which we have coming up in a couple of weeks. And I'm curious if you could give our listeners a little bit of a taste of the type that if it's an Ashtanga type of yoga class, will it be flow into strong with kettlebells? What can they anticipate from a class working with you when we get to Tennessee in a month plus?
Totally. So I don't teach traditional Ashtanga. I teach a very playful, fluid vinyasa style sequence. Vinyasa really just means connecting your breath and your movement, but my yoga practice is playful. You color outside the lines, and I like to connect it to traditional exercise patterns. So, single leg deadlifts or squats within Flow into Strong, so that people can make that connection and distinction that they're just really moving their body, regardless if you have weight in your hand or not, and that we want to be connected to our body no matter what, no breath. Every class is different. There's typically a theme that has nothing to do with our body or focusing on a body part or, an exercise. It's about what the heart or the soul needs in the moment. And I allow myself to go through that journey with my students and with my clients. And so it's, again, fluid. And if you're coming to camp, what you can expect is yoga strength within Flow into Strong, but this weave of connecting to your breath, your body, and an overarching theme of presence, being present.
I love it. Well, I'm going to be taking the class for sure. And I know we'll be able to have a lot of people kind of go through these classes, but I'm curious, there's one thing outside of the gym that you're looking forward to from camp. I don't know how much has been passed along in terms of what the camp experience is like or what we have outside of the fitness aspect of camp, but is there anything that you're looking forward to with regards to getting out in the middle of nowhere, Tennessee, that you're excited about?
Yeah, I'm a big hiker.
All right.
I actually got a car just to get out of the city and hike with my dog. And so I've done a lot of the hikes that are here in this little area of New York and New Jersey. And so I'm very excited to explore some of the hikes that are down at camp. I find hiking has been the most therapeutic outside of yoga and fitness for me, being able to be super present where I'm putting my feet on the ground so I don't trip, listening to what's happening around me, taking in nature. And when people say they don't like hiking, I don't understand. I love it so much. So I'm very excited to hike.
All right, awesome. We can definitely take care of that. We have nice hiking trails throughout the woods on campus, and I think we're actually planning a little field trip to a pretty sweet hike that's not that far away as well. Alex, thanks for taking the time today. It was great to see you again. It's been a while since our days back in NYC together at Solace. But before we get you out, we have a couple last minute questions that we normally ask all our guests if you're up for some quick rapid fire.
I am. I also want to say my memories of Solace are training my 6:30 a.m. client, and you're holding a 3-minute handstand just next to us. And I'm like, oh wow, okay, good morning to you.
I'm still doing those obnoxious handstands and annoying every class that I'm around. Like, why is this guy still on his handstand?
Very distracting to the class, Dave. You have no idea how hard it is to teach people weightlifting when they're looking at you out of the corner of their eye, Dave, over there in the middle.
I do it on purpose whenever you're around.
Hey, I appreciate the challenge. Okay, I appreciate the challenge.
I love it.
All right. Question number 1. What sport or discipline do you prefer, weightlifting or gymnastics?
Gymnastics, because I'm still working on my handstand.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I was.
I mean, I've got my
Yeah.
handstand, but I need to like keep going.
I didn't know what to expect. I think there was
I
just
didn't
some
either.
Jersey love going on there. I don't know if
I was
I
hoping
know.
it was weightlifting because she talked about snatches and cleans
powerlifting
earlier.
and
You
yeah,
know,
I
yeah.
but it
know.
makes sense. Being a power lifter, of course you would hate the Olympic lifts. Of course you would.
I don't hate them.
No.
And also my hands are a mess right now. I work hard with the barbell, okay?
Excellent,
I work
excellent.
hard.
Question number 2. Any guests that you think we should have on the podcast that would be a good person for us to speak with?
My dog.
Oh,
I don't
Okay.
know. I don't know. I don't know, honestly.
we have not had a dog on the podcast yet.
She's vocal. I told her to be quiet for now, but
Here you go. How about Alex? You translate for your dog, and we'll have her on.
that is perfect.
That could work.
Yeah,
that
I think
works for
so.
me.
Well, I think our list is long enough anyway, so we can kind of.
Oh, you're really asking. I don't know, honestly. I don't know. I mean, Chad, you're writing a book. I've just started this process, and I sometimes find myself in a little bubble, and so I don't know many people anymore.
Oh yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. You're just you're kind of in that sense in
Heads down.
your own little world. And being that you're writing a book, our actual next question is if you have any books that you've come across here recently that you'd recommend to the listeners. If somebody asked me that right now, I would not have one because I'm just busy writing.
Doing your own.
So do you find that as well?
Well, I love reading. I've always found a lot of comfort in other people's stories. So I am still reading as I'm writing, but I'm reading the Celestine Prophecy right now, which is super cool. It's basically a spiritual journey, but told almost as a novel, and it's almost like The Alchemist in a way. So Celestine Prophecy would be one. I most recently read Bravey by Alexi Pappas. She's an Olympic long distance runner, and she's also a filmmaker and an author, and she's around my age. She's 30. She's super cool, and her book is actually around mental health. So Bravey is amazing. What else do I have over there? And then I just started reading The Art of Love by, let me just grab it. The Art of Loving by Eric Fromm. So yeah, I've got, I'm very much I like self-help books in a way, but they're just very spiritual and real stories.
Sure. No, that's awesome. Those are 3 that we haven't had before, and we appreciate those. Now, out of curiosity, do you find?
Wait, I'm going to add one more. This is like my all-time favorite book that I think everyone should read. It's called, again, Love. Only Love is Real. It's by Dr. Brian Weiss, and he is a psychiatrist who a psychologist. He started to do past life regression therapy with his patients and hypnotize them, where they would go back into past lives and find soulmates, or realize that like the neck pain that they had is because their head was severed off in an army battle. It's really cool. And if you're interested in your soul's like passing through life, that is my all-time favorite.
I like that.
There you go.
I might be able to actually bring myself to read that one, but I was wondering if you find inspiration or ideas and motivation for your own writing through reading. Is that one of the reasons why you continue reading so much?
I think so. I've always been fascinated with the written word and being able to create emotion through word. So yeah, I love stories. I think that they can help you even if you don't relate immediately, because we're all humans and we all go through the same emotions. They're just different wrapping around it. So that's why I like books. Absolutely.
Well, thank you for those recommendations. We got more than we were hoping for there, I think, Dave, and four new ones. Well, Alex, it's been.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, it's been an absolute pleasure to chat with you, to get to know you a little bit, and look forward to, the folks that are going out to Camp Restore to get to spend time with you and get to know you a little bit more and everything else. Is there anything else you have coming up aside from Restore that you want folks to know about, and let us know your your social media channels where we can keep up with you.
Sure. So at Alex Silver-Fagan on Instagram. You can also head to my website, alexsilverfagan.com. I recently put out an app where I have the most recent content of workouts and flows that you can do along with me. And that's where I'm at right now. And then eventually I'll give you info on the memoir.
Awesome. What is that app?
Camp.
What is that app specifically called? And it's just it's a yoga app?
No, so I partnered with Playbook, and I was able to put up a lot of content through Playbook. But and then on Nike's app, Nike Training Club, there's a variety of yoga flows with me that I had the honor of being able to produce a while ago.
Awesome. Well, to our listeners, guys, be sure to check that out. As always, we very much appreciate you guys listening in. Also, be sure to head over to powermonkeyfitness.com for services and upcoming events. Keep up with Restore and future camps. Dave, any updates on camp or anything else Power Monkey related? Greece is coming up, all those kind of things. What's going on?
Yeah, I don't know when this one is going to be coming out. We actually may be in Greece when this is coming out, but we leave for Crete in a couple of days. Myself, Coach Hinshaw, and Coach Service will all be out there with some of our XFit Lab crew, doing some work with our participants out in Crete. And then we got Camp and Restore, both coming up in September. Camp Restore, which Alex will be a part of, will be September 21st through the 25th. There are spots still available for that if you haven't signed up. And our Power Monkey Camp 16, which will be the week right after, starting on September 26th, is sold out. So really excited to be able to have a full crew for our fall camp. If you are interested in coming to the next Power Monkey Camp, Camp 17, it will be May 1st through the 7th, and that's up for registration now. We have our early bird special. So I would recommend going to powermonkeycamp.com to check that out.
Perfect. Also, guys, check out our Instagram pages for regular teaching and technical content at Power Monkey Fitness, at Dave Durante, and at Ollie Chad. And on behalf of Power Monkey Fitness, we're your host. I'm Chad Vaughn with Dave Durante. Until next time, guys, thank you all for listening.